My name is Leon. I had a sister whom I cherished deeply. She was 5 years older than me and had always been kind-hearted. Not only was she beautiful and gentle, but she also had an amiable personality. Everyone loved her, from my friends to the young and old in our neighborhood. She was the pride of my life. As for me, though I had no complaints about my upbringing, I started getting into trouble around middle school. Influenced by my peers, I got involved in reckless activities, smoking, shoplifting, partying till late at night. Looking back, I can't believe the foolish things I did. My parents were incredibly disappointed in me, but my sister never gave up on me. She treated me with the same affectionate smile as always. After graduating high school, I joined the workforce and straightened up. My relationship with my parents improved. Yet, even as years went by, the fact that my sister never turned her back on me during my rebellious phase was something that held a special place in my heart. I took her presence in my life for granted, and I seldom made an effort to show my gratitude or visit her. And then, suddenly, I lost her forever. It happened when I was 24. I had been working at a restaurant for 6 years, and from starting off as a dishwasher, I had worked my way up to developing new menu items. I loved the joy of seeing customers relish the dishes I made. I felt passionate about my work, but I had lost sight of cherishing the people who mattered the most. On a rare day off, I was sleeping in when my phone rang. Gradually, I saw it was a call from Mom. She rarely called, knowing well my habit of being out of touch. I answered, puzzled. "Hello?" My mother, audibly distraught, said,
Leon, come to the hospital now. Your sister's been in an accident.
I could only grasp that my sister, whom I hadn't seen in a while, was in an accident and had been hospitalized. My parents' house, my sister's place, and the hospital were all in the same city. I could have reached quickly by taxi, but whether it was my denial or shock, I opted for the usual trains, which took an hour. The weight of the situation hadn't truly sunk in. I couldn't fathom that my sister was grievously injured. The room felt eerily silent, except for the sobs of Yuria, my 6-year-old niece. My mother stood next to the hospital bed, her face pale and her eyes blank as though she had lost her very soul. My father, tears streaming down his face, tried to comfort her. The hum and beeping of the machines felt surreal. A cold dread settled in my stomach as I approached the bed. As I drew closer, the grim reality hit me. There, lying pale and lifeless, was my sister. The monitor next to her bed displayed a flat line, a stark zero, a sight I had only ever seen in movies. "It can't be true," I whispered, but deep down, I knew it was. The sister I took for granted, whom I assumed would always be there, was gone at just 27. I tried to recall the last time we met. We had gathered at our parents' house for New Year's last year, but I couldn't remember our last conversation. The guilt and regret welled up inside me. If only I had known that would be our last meeting, I would have cherished every moment, hung on to every word. But no amount of remorse would bring her back. My decision to lazily take the train to the hospital had cost me my final moments with her. What a fool I've been, I chastised myself. I learned that on their way to the store, my sister and Yuria were caught in a collision between two other cars. In a split-second decision, my sister swerved the car so that the impact would be on her side, protecting Yuria in the back seat. The child only suffered minor injuries, thanks to her mother's final protective act. It was just like my sister, always putting others before herself. Yet, acceptance was far from reach for all of us. "It can't be real." A voice broke through the silence, drawing my attention to the doorway. It was Luke, my sister's husband. His job was in a neighboring city, and it seemed he had just arrived. The loss was immense for me, but seeing Luke's pain was heartbreaking. As he approached the bed, trying to process the reality, he broke down in quiet sobs. Yuria clung to him, both father and daughter united in their grief. No one could have imagined we'd be saying goodbye to her so soon. A few days later, the funeral took place, with Luke standing as the chief mourner for my late sister. Even after the countless tears at the hospital and upon returning home, I found myself crying once again during the funeral. I was surprised at how much I cried. As an adult, I rarely ever found myself shedding tears. I expected Yuria, who had been inconsolable on the day of my sister's death, to be in tears throughout the funeral. However, she was remarkably calm. A relative tried to console her,
It must be lonely without your mother so suddenly.
but Yuria shook her head vehemently and said,
Yuria is okay. I have daddy.
and she said this with a smile on her face. Another relative praised her.
How brave of you. Your mother can rest peacefully in heaven now.
It was truly astonishing to see Yuria smiling just a few days after losing her mother, especially when she had cried so much. But at that moment, I just thought that children have an amazing ability to bounce back. Noticing me, Yuria, with puffy eyes from crying, managed a smile and started to approach me, wanting to share something.
Leon, brother, you know.
She began. As I was about to respond, a voice called out to her from behind. It was Luke.
Oh, Papa.
Yuri exclaimed cheerfully and ran over to him. It was clear how much she adored her father. She had clung to him tightly when we learned about my sister's death. Watching them, Luke gave a nod in my direction, and then the two of them walked away. Yuria truly loved her mother, I thought. Even though I only met Yuria about once a year during the holidays, it was evident how close she was to my sister. Not only did she always cling to her, but she'd also often express her desire to grow up just like her mother, even actively helping out around the house. Seeing Yuria, my sister, and Luke, they were the epitome of a perfect happy family. Hence, while I was deeply concerned about how the 6-year-old Yuria would cope with the loss of her mother, her strong bond with her father gave me some solace. I hoped that wherever my sister was, she was at peace, knowing that her daughter was in good hands. However, about a month later, at a gathering with my relatives, I noticed something strange. Did Yuria get her hair cut? Yuria's hair, which had been down to her chest, was now a short length, not even reaching her shoulders. My older sister also had long hair, and they often had matching hairstyles. Yuria seemed to love that, so I was quite surprised and asked her immediately. Yuria replied with a smile.
I wanted to try it shorter.
I always had the impression that women frequently went to the beauty salon. Do they desire an image change even at such a young age? I've had the same hairstyle for over 5 years. I thought to myself as Yuria and I chatted. Then I noticed something else. Aren't you hot, Yuria? Wearing long sleeves in this heat. It was late July and the temperature was over 35 degrees Celsius. Even with air conditioning indoors, Yuria's long sleeve, long pants attire seemed out of place. I, who sweat easily, found her attire unthinkable. However, Yuria froze for a moment and didn't say a word. I remembered seeing this expression before. Just when I thought of that,
Big brother Leon, you see.
she seemed to want to say something, grabbing my sleeve tightly. At that moment, Yuria, she was called from behind by Luke. Oh, this. It was the same sequence as at the funeral. I greeted Luke, but unlike last time, Yuria didn't run to Luke with a smile. Instead, it felt like the grip on my sleeve was getting tighter. Did they have a fight? I thought, but then Luke said, Yuria, Leon is busy. You're bothering him. Let's go play in the other room. With that, Yuria ran to Luke, but I didn't miss the detail. Right before she let go of my hand, she was trembling significantly. Yet, I couldn't immediately comprehend the meaning behind her behavior. After that, I kept wondering about her behavior and remembered a conversation I had with my sister. It was when Yuria was about 4 years old, at an end-of-year gathering at our parents' house. She kept bringing toys to me, who was busy with my smartphone. Not used to kids, I felt overwhelmed and asked my sister for help. My sister said,
Yuria adores you. Please bear with her.
I didn't dislike it, but I had no clue why she was so attached to me. Why me? I wondered aloud, to which my sister replied,
She's been fond of you since you saved her from a dog chasing her. She said she loves you since then.
It was true, but I was slightly embarrassed yet happy to hear that. My sister laughed and added,
So Yuria, you are her hero. Please protect her if something happens.
All I could think of was that dog incident, but I replied with a simple, okay. I had promised my sister that. I wasn't sure why I remembered that, but I couldn't shake off the feeling. Maybe I need to protect Yuria after all. That thought crossed my mind. The trembling Yuria felt at that time was out of fear, and the message she wanted to convey to me was an SOS. If she was always being interrupted by Luca at such convenient timings because she was being monitored, It would be fine if I was overthinking things. I could just laugh it off if someone told me I had watched too much drama. What truly terrified me was the thought that if my intuition was right and I couldn't do anything to help her, I was headed towards Yuria's house, a place I had only visited once before. Ding dong, I rang the doorbell of Yuria's house, but there was no response. I pressed the intercom again, but still no response. Is nobody home? Then I heard a loud thud from inside. Is someone there? Just as I was about to ring the doorbell again, I heard the distinct sound of something shattering. This was definitely not normal. I began to pound on the door. Yuria, are you there? It's me, Leon. Are you okay? Immediately after, there was another sound, and Luke appeared. He looked no different than usual. If my intuition was right, then this man was abusing Yuria. This thought made my heart race. Is Yuria here today? When I asked, Luca, without changing his expression, replied,
She's not here. It's school hours.
Indeed, that made sense. I almost felt like I might have overreacted. But even if I was overthinking, I couldn't back down now. Did you hear a loud noise just now? I questioned Luke. He replied,
Oh, I was doing the dishes and accidentally dropped the dish.
It was an answer without any hint of deceit, but I couldn't hold back. Can I come in for a moment? It's hot outside and I'm thirsty. As I tried to step inside,
Sorry, it's a bit messy right now. Please visit some other time.
Luca pressed on my shoulder, preventing me from entering, as if he had something to hide. I really don't mind a mess. Even so, he wouldn't let me in. His stubborn refusal made me even more suspicious. Without waiting any longer, I forcibly pushed Luke aside and entered the house.
Hey, that's trespassing.
Luke, unlike before, used a much harsher tone to stop me, but I dashed towards the living room. Yuria, are you there? It's Big Brother Leon. Shouting those words, I pressed deeper into the house. As Luca had mentioned, even if he was my brother-in-law, entering someone else's house without permission could be considered trespassing. But I couldn't be bothered with that, just as I had always been proud of my sister. If I was a hero to Yuria, then it was my duty as her younger brother to protect her, the girl my sister had protected with her life. Yuria, please answer me. The last time I visited, the house had been neat and tidy. Now, garbage was strewn everywhere, shattered dishes and their fragments lay about, and furniture was toppled. It was clear that something was amiss in the house. When I reached the furthest room, I heard a thumping sound from a closed closet. When I quickly opened it, Yuria was standing there, her wrists and mouth bound, crying. Her body was thin, with unnatural bruises all over. She was wearing long sleeves in the height of summer, no doubt to hide the evidence of her abuse. I regretted not realizing what was happening to her earlier.
Big Brother Leon.
When I released her from her bindings, Yuria weakly spoke and embraced me. Tears wouldn't stop as I held her close. I'm sorry I couldn't save you sooner. Hearing this, Yuria cried just like she did the day my sister passed away.
It's discipline. It's none of your business, you who don't have children.
Luke said coldly. Are you kidding me? Holding Yuria, I quickly made my exit. Luke didn't chase after us. I immediately reported him to the police and he was arrested. According to the police, the abuse started after my sister died. However, even before that, there were constant arguments between the couple about how to raise Yuria. After my sister's death, he had forced the still young Yuria to do household chores, and he persistently berated her when she couldn't perform them well. Talking to Yuria later, she told me that during my sister's funeral, Luke told her,
If you cry, it will make mom sad. You have dad, so you shouldn't be lonely. So you should smile.
But Mom always said she loved it when I smiled. So I thought smiling would make her happy.
Hearing this, tears streamed down my face. My parents, who loved their granddaughter, were more than happy to take in Yuria. I started visiting home more often. Each time, Yuria would run and embrace me, and I found her incredibly adorable. The emaciated Yuria slowly regained her healthy, plump appearance. Even though she was saved from physical abuse, the scars on her heart may take longer to heal. However, from now on, my parents and I intend to shower her with all the love we can give. I want to remain Yuria's hero for as long as I live. So I hope my sister can watch over us from heaven with peace of mind, forever and always.